someone make a generalization from that that says about half the students showed up and about half did not? Absolutely it could. You can look at the picture and all of a sudden it's just like, all right, 50-50 or pretty close to it. Okay? Other key things, units. Anytime you have a chart or a graph, you want to look for units. Okay? Particularly if you're dealing with speed, if you're dealing with any sort of acceleration, velocity, things, concepts like that, you want to pay attention to what units they're in. Typically, they will have the unit in a parentheses, okay, along the x-axis and or along the y-axis. Okay, so we'll have parentheses here. If we're dealing with a unit of time on the independent variable, it might be seconds, it might be days, it might be minutes, it might be weeks, I don't know, depending upon what the question is. Okay, so these are different things that you can get information from. Now, from a functional standpoint, I would give yourself a goal of, if you have 3 charts per section in science, a realistic goal is 1.5 to 2 minutes to look over that. Okay, let me say that again. Make sure you get this. About 1.5 to 2 minutes. So 30 seconds to 40 seconds per graph, per picture, per chart to try to figure out what it's saying and what it's about. Okay? Now, you've got a paragraphs in here somewhere it's going to discuss a little bit, but you're going to get most of what you need by looking at this stuff right here. Okay? Now, again, this goes back to practice. Okay? Sometime in the next 4 weeks, take 4 different times and practice doing this. Try to read that graph and figure out what it's all about. Okay? Do I understand this? Do I get it? Yes. Okay, move. Go to this one. Okay? I believe on the practice Pareto that we did, or maybe the practice I gave you guys back in the spring that I was helping with, there were some where things were almost identical in 2 or 3 charts, except one little difference. Okay? Make sure you notice the difference between those two. I think, for instance, on one of them it dealt with fruit flies, and one fruit fly had 5% this solution, another had 15%. Otherwise, everything else in the chart was the same. So try to distinguish between those differences. Okay? So 30 seconds to 40 seconds per chart or graph to get the information. Now, after that, all right, questions about the charts and graphs? Anybody? It's hard at times. I get that. The way my mind processes and I look at this, I want to look title, I want to look independent unit, dependent unit. Okay, let me say that again. When I look at a graph first, I'm going to look for title. Then I'm going to go to the independent. Why? The independent is the one that changes. Okay, or am I looking with a unit of time? What am I looking at units here? Okay, for instance, if I was talking about the amount of time that it takes for one of Brianna Furby's basketball shots to go leave her hand and go down. All right, so we're taking time here and everything like that. So it would be one of those things that may change for a 2-point shot versus a 3-point shot. Okay, but that gives me information, and I can look at this and all of a sudden I can take a look at it, and maybe in 15, 20, 25, 30 seconds I can know what that graph or chart is all about. Questions on this before I erase it? Anybody? All right, let's talk the paragraphs on science. Typically, if you have two or three of the graphs, you're going to have a synopsis paragraph right here. Okay? It is probably best to read the whole thing, but one thing you got to be careful of. This is going to be written very, very technically. Okay? It's going to read like it's from a scientific journal. Don't get caught up in all the minutiae, the little tiny things that are going on in this paragraph. If you got the information for the most part from the graphs and charts and things like that, that's fine. Okay? Get through this, but don't get caught up in trying to figure out every single word and what it means. Move on to the questions. Okay? Read it, see if there's any extra little bit of information that you can get or anything like that. But don't get so caught up into it that all of a sudden you forgot every single thing you learned by looking at the charts. Okay? And then in the questions, be very, very attentive to the fact that a question may say, or it may start in figure 1. Okay? Blah, 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 blah. Look for anything else in that question that says in figure 2. Or if it says compare. If you hear the word compare, okay, go back to thinking about what the difference is between specific graphs. All right, you can go ahead and stop it, Brent.